Hey guys, in this video, we're going to look at the chords of the Ionian mode, also known as the major scale. I'll show you how these chords, how these harmonies are formed in the Ionian mode. We'll get a feel for what they all sound like, and you'll learn how to use them to craft some cool chord progressions. Now, the Ionian mode is another name for the major scale, which is a fundamental and very popular pattern in music. So all of the chords that we're going to build in this video are very familiar, like you've definitely heard them before. But because they're so popular, it's important that you know how these harmonies work so you can really play with them to create some cool songs. And using the key of C as an example, here's how these chords are built from the C major scale or the C Ionian mode. So this is the pattern. The C major scale is played with notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, or intervals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. On its own, it sounds nice, right? But to really amplify the sound of this pattern even more, we can build some chords from it by combining every other note like this. Starting with interval 1, C, then skip a note to play E, skip another note to play G. So together, C, E, G make the C major chord. Starting on scale degree 2 or D, skip a note to then play F, skip another note to play A, and together D, F, and A make the D minor chord. Starting on scale degree 3 or E, you skip a note to play G, skip a note to play B, so together E, G, and B make the E minor chord, and then so on. So we start with F, skip A, skip C, F, A, C makes the F major chord, G, skip B, skip D, G major, G, B, D, A, skip C, skip E, A, C, E makes the A minor chord, B, skip D, skip F, B, D, F makes the B diminished chord, and then we make our way back to C, C, E, G. So we started with a low C, E, G, and then end with a high C, E, G. So if we played the C major scale just one note at a time, it's... But if we play that same pattern with the chords, it suddenly sounds like the same C major scale or the C Ionian mode, but on steroids. By starting on each separate note of the major scale, also known as the Ionian mode, and then playing every other note, these 7 chords are formed. And we call them tertian harmonies because the intervals between the notes in each chord are major or minor thirds. And the word tertian is Latin for thirds. When we look at these chords in a table format like this, it's easy to see how they're constructed. And because of the different intervals used to build them, where some are major thirds and others are minor thirds, we get a range of sounds, where C, F, and G form brighter sounding major chords, and harmonies D minor, E minor, and A minor sound more melancholy. And the B diminished chord, built from 2 minor third intervals, feels especially tense or dissonant. To label these harmonies, musicians use a set of Roman numerals that indicate which scale degree of the underlying mode is the foundation of that chord. So the 1 chord is built on scale degree 1 of the C Ionian mode, or the C note. The 2 chord is built on scale degree 2 of the mode, or D, D minor. 3 is built on scale degree 3, or E, E minor. 4 is built on F, F major. 5 is on G, G major. 6 on A, A minor. 7 diminished on B, B diminished. And then it rounds out at C major again. Where the uppercase numerals, 1, 4, and 5, are major chords, the lowercase numerals, 2, 3, and 6, are minor chords, and the little O on 7 means it's diminished. Together, all of these chords give us a kind of harmonic palette to choose from. That's the C Ionian mode chords. And the major chords are more bright and consonant. That's 1, 4, and 5. 1, 4, and 5. The minor chords are darker and more dissonant. That's 2, 3, and 6. 2, 3, and 6. They're a bit more melancholy. And then the diminished chord sounds downright tense. You've got the B diminished. That's even more dissonant. Like I say, we can use these various harmonies almost like a painter's palette of sound to create audible pictures that evoke a range of emotions. For example, if you want to conjure up a more upbeat or positive vibe, then you'll play mostly the major chords since they sound so consonant. So in the key of C, that's chords C, F, and G, or 1, 4, and 5. And a popular chord progression based on these chords is the 12-bar blues that sounds like this. And if you want to create a more pensive or nuanced feeling, then you can mix in some minor chords or even the diminished chord 2 to create more emotional variety. So for example, we're going to play another chord progression, this time using chords major 1, minor 6, minor 2, major 5, diminished 7, and then back to the major 1. So in the first example we played, in the 12-bar blues riff, we played all major chords, and that created a kind of jaunty, happy vibe. Then in the next example, we played a mix of both major and minor chords, and actually a diminished chord too, and that created a very different feel. So the chords that you play within the Ionian mode really inform the sound of the music that you make, and they help to guide you as you go in that way. But what's really cool is there's actually a special connection between all of the chords within the mode that is based on the tertian intervals that form them, that really clarifies how you can create some naturally compelling chord progressions as you write a song. And here's how it works. When we again look at this pattern of tertian intervals used to build each chord, you can see how it actually forms a continuous chain that ties everything together into a string of major thirds and minor thirds that binds every note of the Ionian mode like this. And the sequence of alternating intervals highlights the natural connections between chords. In fact, you could say that this pattern flows like a current of electricity through the notes, binding them like magnets into chords, which then form a chain where the resulting triads are laid out like this, in a tertian sequence that can actually cycle on forever when we wrap this pattern into a closed loop that gives us a more compact view of how all of these chords within the Ionian mode relate to each other. The same chords are still present, of course, only now they've been rearranged into this new and natural formation. For example, you can see that the 1 chord, C major, is still made of notes C, E, and G, and that the 2 chord, D minor, includes notes D, F, and A, and that the 3 chord, E minor, is built from notes E, G, and B, etc. Nothing is fundamentally different here except the way these harmonies are depicted within this looped space. But the advantage is that you can now see how these chords are connected as you move from one to the next, which we can depict more simply by the respective root note and Roman numeral of each. So we have C major, 1, E minor, 3, G major, 5, B diminished, 7, D minor, 2, F major, 4, A minor, 6, and then C major, 1 again. Now, I know all of this can be a little heady, where we started out with the Ionian mode, and then by connecting every other note, we formed a natural link between chords that's really an infinite loop. But it's really how music works. You can't make this stuff up. And by exploring this harmonic space, you can see how songwriters navigate chords to compose different progressions. Like again, the 12-bar blues progression. or the popular 1-5-6-4 progression. And also the 1-5-6-3-4-1-4-5-1 progression made famous in Pachelbel's canon. And all sorts of other progressions that naturally flow through this harmonic space, all moving in ways that follow the natural connections between chords. In any key, it doesn't matter what key you're in, all 12 keys follow the same natural connections. In other videos, we explain this harmonic space of the Ionian mode more closely to see how musicians have used these chords to create some really good music. But this is at least a nice introduction to the Ionian mode, how the chords are formed, and how they're connected to create some really cool chord progressions. So thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you in the next video.